Now, Ryoma Sukuna has been the pillar of Jujutsukaisen for the majority of the series, to the point some fans called it Sukuna Kaisen for a while. Even the first chapter of the manga was titled Ryoma Sukuna, which honestly suits his character so well given his clear reflection to hedonism and his outrageously arrogant nature. It's only right for him to be the center of everything as a main antagonist. However, that's not the main point here in this video. What I wanna touch on is not just his role, but how effective he is as a villain. Initially, I believed Kenjaku would be the main antagonist of the series for a while. His intelligence and madness, the way he always calculates every possible step, gave me some of those Aizen vibes, which is no surprise considering the main inspiration for Gege was Bleach, indeed. But the chances for Kenjaku being the main antagonist are really dim now since he got bodied by Yuta, which knocks us back to Sukuna with the note that the author stated Shinjuku arc will be the final one, and it makes sense. Imagine you are the most self-indulgent person only to be trapped in the polar opposite of your being, who is selfless and is ready to sacrifice himself for others. With no middle ground whatsoever, a final battle between Yuji Itadori and Ryoma Sukuna seems fit considering their dark contrast. But the question here, why does Sukuna work? Through the whole series, he dominated the power equilibrium to the point even Gojo Satoru, who was pushed through the narrative to be the strongest, he still lost to Sukuna like it's a everyday battle, even though he stood in the same ground as him. And that clear dominance throughout the chapters gave me this idea, which is Sukuna and Madara are similar. Or should I say Sukuna is the modern shonen's Madara. Now I am not saying he is exactly like him before the Naruto and JJK fans clash on who is better, that does not matter for this idea, but rather I wanna say Sukuna is the twisted version of Madara. Another question is, why should you care? Honestly, I think this comparison will serve a great deal to understanding Sukuna's depth as a character and what can we expect from the next events concerning Sukuna's fate. And we will also get to break down Gege's writing flaws, or rather to me his unique writing if you look at it from different perspective compared to Madara's. Also stick to the end because we will yap about who would have done it better, Kenjaku or Ryoma Sukuna. Or rather give my hypothesis, and then I want you guys to tell me what would be your answer to this question. I assure you this will be an interesting session. On another note, please be sure to subscribe. We are nearing 200 subs as I'm making this video. Please help me reach that and possibly more. I'm trying to reach 500 this month. I genuinely appreciate it. Thank you. So, I was bored in a random Saturday and I was reminded by the way the fandom is receiving the latest chapters positively after the whole Sukuna cycle memes, and honestly my take to that was simple. I was pretty neutral because I remember back in 2012, 2013, I can't remember exactly, but I was catching up to the Naruto manga and we had exactly the same situation. The Madara cycle, but the difference is majority of the fandom kind of liked it. For starters, I want to clarify that Naruto had a massive backlash during that period for being drawn out and having slow pacing. But when it came down to Madara and his character, nobody in my opinion had an issue with his cycle. In fact, some fans submitted to the idea that no one can defeat him. His clear supremacy over all shinobis he faced made sense from the beginning due to how he was introduced as this warrior who was sitting at the top of the food chain during his ancient time. But yet he still clung to life over the decades in order to fulfill his ideals. In same fashion as Sukuna, both are from ancient times with massive experience and perfect knowledge about their power system. Now to briefly explain how this comparison works, we have to address how does Madara works, or rather why people then liked it whenever Madara had screen time despite the controversy surrounding the latest arc. In other words, we will state the differences. First of all, Uchiha Madara's character was not just straight aura, he actually served a great deal to the world building and overall the plot in general. Well, yes, it was cool seeing how far his power can reach, but in my opinion the most intriguing thing is the amount of knowledge we had about him and his past and how it did contribute to the story. For example, we had briefing about how strong was the first Hokage and the history of the Shinju and Uchiha. And slowly all dots kept connecting, leading to the showdown between Naruto and Sasuke. The second point is, Madara had actually ideals, on a huge scale at that, which I would say the one thing that Sukuna lacks at the moment, and the main reason I thought he would not be the final villain. But that itself is not a great flaw, it all comes down to how you perceive the story or how you digest it. Each writer got his unique approach to his plot, which is good writing in general, which we will touch on that later, but for now I would like to point out the similarities, or more like the points of inspiration For example, the panel when Sukuna gave his final regard to Gojo, I had goosebumps there, mainly cause I recalled the panel where Madara commanded Might Guy for being the strongest, with both having half of their body damaged. But this feeling was not just random one, it actually made sense to some degree. Both are warriors who do not belong in their timeline, trying to achieve eternity by any means possible. The first thing that Sukuna and Madara share in common is their immense experience and knowledge. They both perfected their craft and are regarded as the best endeavors, and you can't bring them down alone, you need an army. Secondly, and the most important aspect, is their sense of power. Both characters don't know how to respond to love, only using power to deal with whatever situation they are handling. You can't reach through them if you are not knocking on their heart with strength and power. That is the most significant resemblance I could think of. This concept is obviously overused when writing a villain, but in my opinion it's a special concern in these characters, and that is the reason I said Sukuna is the twisted version. He takes that aspect to a whole new level. While he lacks ideas, that is also part of his character because he is a very selfish person. All he cares about is boasting his power and responding to anything that comes at him with raw strength. Do you need ideals when you are your own ideal? That is an interesting way to look at it. But it also can open the room for a character development, not necessarily saying he should turn good, but rather acquire a goal at the end, like finishing off his nemesis or remembering his cruel past and take revenge on humanity, who knows. And that is the reason why I said Giga's writing is unique if we compare it to a typical shonen. He sacrifices certain elements, for example like world building, and takes the other elements to the extreme, like the character insertion or heavy character building, to hook the fans on the characters. Oh yeah, I said character insertion because no way Sukuna has all that plot armor for free. It might be Gege inserting himself in the Malevolent King. Jokes aside, this is the element that JJK excels at. During Sukuna cycle, we got to see all the cast and how far they can go. Gege really left no crumbs, showing off the true power of everyone. And that is the purpose of these chains of events. The same way happened in Naruto, while Naruto compared to JJK didn't execute it perfectly because the amount of side characters was really large numbers, so we could not see everyone shine during the Ninja War arc, but its main goal was to contribute to the world and character building as well. And overall, it's an opportunity for others to show off the power scaling of their characters. And Gege doesn't complicate things, he does what he does best, and that is writing battles, because at the end, this is a battle shonen. Lastly, their lust for power. Both started from the bottom whilst also possessing significant talent. For instance, Sukuna had a twin, and twins in Jujutsu Kaisen mean both of them are limiting each other. Guess what Sukuna did? He denied that fate, and ate his twin in the womb. Bro did not even make it out. And despite Sukuna being a genius like Madara, he still went out of his way to achieve more power, even if it means possessing others and stealing their techniques. That does not concern him at all. Game is game to Sukuna. Same way like Madara, even if he didn't harm his brother like the story say, losing him boosted his potential further. Even when he was losing, he still found new ways to acquire more power by using Hashirama cells. To both these calamities, power is everything. If you are weak, then it's completely your fault for not doing something about it. Which brings us the question, if we follow this narrative route of that of Madara, does that mean Sukuna is about to meet same fate as him being betrayed? We still don't know what was his binding vow with Kenjaku yet. We don't even know who can beat him. But if it happens that Sukuna gets possessed by the merger when he is weakened, or somehow Kenjaku comes back by fusing portion of his body to the merger, which in a way when you exclude everything that's happening, it would make sense for the great Sukuna to only be defeated through trickery and betrayal. And that would complete the parallel that Madara and Sukuna are part of. Two beings that went far and beyond to attain power. No one could rival them, only to be done dirty for being blinded by their status and the ceiling they reached. Before we conclude this video, I want to ask you the question, who do you think would be the fitting final villain for the series? Ryoma, Sukuna, or Kenjaku? Honestly, in my opinion, I would love it if the same "shall I save you my hero" experience happens. Reason number one, Gege doesn't care about his characters as far as I'm concerned. Only Sukuna is getting the VIP treatment. But he has this pattern in writing, he does not care about how great a character is. If it serves a meaning to the plot, he will shoot him down to the ground and under. Just like how he off-screened Gojo. What would be fitting in my humble opinion if Sukuna experiences a similar humiliation and show how all his arrogance and superiority complex fades only to reveal the real final villain like Kenjaku or Tengen merger or something. I'm not really trying to write for Gege, but I think this idea is pretty interesting. What do you think would be fitting since we are nearing the climax of the arc though? Is there more similarities between Madara and Sukuna? Please comment what you think and like the video. I genuinely appreciate a subscribe as well. Thank you so much for making it this far. As I end this one, please take care and stay safe out there. Peace. See you in the next one.